how did you get your syndication deal?
It's a long story. We had been talking to another company early on when I was at the Univision radio, broadcasting company. Now, we were on English radio at Univision. A lot of people think it's only Spanish, but it's not. They do own several English properties as well, and they're delving into more of the English world because, as you know, the Spanish-only pie is getting slimmer and slimmer. There's just more of me in this country. English is my first language, although of course my culture is very important to me. And so we were approached by a syndication company. Univision said, hey, we'll do it ourselves. And they never did. And then ABC approached us and we tried to work the deal out with ABC and Univision, and it just wasn't the right deal. So we left. We walked away from a corporate job to partner with ABC. And then Steve Jones, the president of ABC, decided to leave, which, I mean, if you think about ABC Radio, this is a huge, powerful entity. So when he left to go to Skyview and asked us to go, it was an easy decision to say, okay, if the president's leaving, let's go. This is probably a better deal for us. And it has been. We still get to work with incredible companies like ABC, CBS. We're on different radio stations all over the country. And actually it's better because we are no longer in competition with any broadcasting companies per se. We own our show, and it's made life a lot easier. And actually today is our 2-year anniversary that we hit the airwaves as a syndicated show. So it's kind of funny that you wanted to discuss this today, because we felt very proud waking up today knowing that. It felt like a great accomplishment that we made it this far.
Congratulations.
It's much harder being syndicated. Trust me, it's much harder.
How did you as a talent know that you were ready to be syndicated?
I've always been uncomfortable with being comfortable. And so when I started in radio, John Candelaria gave me my shot and he put me on Morning Drive. And this is at a time when very few women were opening the mic in the morning, especially on rhythmic stations, rhythmic and pop stations. It just was unheard of. And I caught that buzz real quick. I became a program director. And you start to grow, right? You reach a milestone and then you reach another. And for me, it's always about that. It's climbing this ladder and I get to one rung and I'm ready for the next. And when we were in San Antonio, I felt like I knew we were ready for the next level. I knew we were ready for the next level because we had already been in, top 5 market. We had been in medium markets, and we had something different. There was something special. And I have to attribute that to my husband, DJ Automatic, who's the executive producer. It didn't used to be called the Dana Cortez Show. And he decided, hey, this is your show. You're driving the bus. Let's just change the name. Let's just, you need to own this. And it's very important that I acknowledge that because he's the driver behind me. He's the guy behind me telling me where to go. And we knew it. We got into San Antonio, and there was a morning show that was on before us, and they were, incredible. I certainly don't want to take anything away from them, but I think that they had, maybe run their course at that particular station, and we took that show and the billing top 3 in the market. So we took the time slot, and it really is. Of course, it's about ratings, but it's also about helping the company achieve. It's also about revenue. We're all in this business to feed our families, as I like to say. So we work very well with sales, and we put a lot of money on the books. And that's when I knew, I was like, okay, we can do this because we care about our community. We care about these, we're going to care about every affiliate like we do this one. And we took the leap. I mean, it's scary to leave your company corporate job, right? They tell you can't do anything without them. You're never going to make it. It's not going to work. And those things get in your head. But we took that leap and believed in ourselves, and I'm very glad we did, because thank God we've been successful so far in every market. So I'm proud of that.
Do you think that you understood the importance of sales because you had experience as a PD, or did you always understand that intrinsically as a talent?
Being a program director, of course, helped me in that aspect, but my life has helped me in that aspect. I had a child when I was 15. When you have a child when you're 15, you have to learn to hustle real quick. You've got to work. You've got to do anything you can to ensure that you and that child are eating and keeping that roof over your head and everything else. So I learned very quickly that hard work and sales is important. I feel like when anybody comes in to interview me, like I just spoke about, you know, a lot of, you know, young women in universities, colleges come in to talk to me. They ask me about broadcasting, and I always say, you got to learn, you got to get some marketing in there, because we're selling ourselves every single day. And it's very important. And I've never understood the whole idea between sales versus programming, because you're on the same team. You have to work hand in hand. But honestly, I think that I've understood that from jump. I couldn't be here today without, you know, acknowledging that my life experience is what's taught me that the hustle is what it's about. I want for the people who advertise on our station to reap the rewards of their hard-earned money. These are, you know, not only large corporations, a lot of small businesses rely on radio. So I want them to see the return times 10. And we work well with sales, you know, and I think that every program director and every talent should. When we left Univision, that station in San Antonio, I took every one of my endorsements with me. Why? Because I have a relationship with them, because I care about them, because when Christmas comes around, I'm delivering them presents. When their kids do something, I'm congratulating them. I genuinely care about the people I work with. And it's not just in programming. It's, you know, in sales as well. We all have to work together as a team.
Now, how has your show changed since it became syndicated?
You know, that's interesting. A lot of people ask that question. I think it's just, you know, our consultant, Raul Colindras, he goes by Rico's, you know, he's been in radio a long time. The show in its essence has not changed. And maybe we'll go back to that first question you asked, how did we know? When you, I feel like, reach a level that you can talk to somebody in San Antonio, Texas, and you can also reach somebody in Bakersfield, California, is because you're talking to them about life, about, you know, some of the greatest shows on television, if you think, are Seinfeld, The Office. They're not about really anything, right? They're just about everyday normal life. And so that's what our show has been about. It's never been about, you know, what's happening locally in the weather. Of course, don't get me wrong, we do local liners, we do all of that. We do everything we can to make ourselves a part of these radio stations. But what I think cuts through is the humanity and the connection with people. And so if you're able to do that as a show, you can be on in New York and you can be on in LA, and you can win in both places. Now, if you rely solely on your city and, you know, talking about what's happening in your town, that's fine too. But that's never been what our show was about. It just couldn't. I've moved around too much. I started and everything happened very quickly. I'm very blessed to say that. But I never got to rely on just a city. I had to talk about what's going on in my life. So it's been great, you know, to connect that way with people. And it's also been great therapy. I get to talk about everything going on in my life. So it's like free therapy for me and the audience.
Because you're a female and, you know, it's so rare to have females on in the morning that are syndicated, do you feel any extra pressure to be successful?
Yes. That is such a loaded question, because I wish I could say no, or sometimes maybe I even used to say no, but yes, especially being a woman, you know, a brown woman, a Latina, being the first means that everybody's watching. Can she do it? And that means a lot of other women, you know, unfortunately will be judged by how this show does. And I don't like that, but it's a lot of weight. And we work extra hard because of that. We know that there are people, gatekeepers in the industry that have been in the same position for a very long time that are uncomfortable with new. It's kind of like, let's just go with the same old fort. Let's keep going. You know, we're going to put the guy, a couple of girls, everybody's going to laugh at what he says. We're going to keep moving. And this is a very different show. So it sounds different, but that's why it cuts through. There is a lot of pressure though, because I don't want to let anybody down and I don't want to disappoint anybody. And I also want to keep my job. I want to continue to pay bills, you know? So when it comes to, you know, garnering clears and getting ads, it's always a deep discussion with those in charge, because sometimes they don't get it. Sometimes they don't get it. But the one thing I always say to PDs is you don't have to get it. Your audience will. And so far, so good.
You, Ebro from Hot 97, and Helen Little from Light FM are like three people who were extremely successful as PDs, but then became talent again. Was it awkward or even disconcerting to make that change and go back on the air?
I think it was at first because, you know, you want to kind of be in charge of things, right? You kind of want to do that. But at the same time, I feel like I still program the show. So, you know, it gives me a little edge. And I think the two talents you spoke about would probably agree with me. You have an edge over talent that hasn't programmed because you know the little things in PPM world, diary world, you know those little things that cut through, those tiny little things that you can do to make a difference. You know all about those. So for me, I wouldn't say it was an easy transition, but once I started moving toward more of, you know, concentrating more on the show, I realized that if I didn't make a choice, one was going to suffer. And I don't want to be selfish. I am a true believer that if you are a program director on air, and of course right now, let's be real, there's a lot of PDs that don't have a choice. So I'm not attacking anyone. This is not an attack. But something suffers because doing an on-air shift that wins is very difficult. And programming a station that wins is very difficult. So for me at this level, it has to be either or. And I love being on air. I love helping people. I love talking to people every day. I love making a difference. I love waking up and laughing with them. It's like a friendship, right? You keep coming back to it. So I'm glad I made this choice. For like a second, I was like, am I making the right choice? And now I'm so glad, and I don't even look back at that. I want to be like Elvis Duran. I want to be at that age and then be like, still be on the air and happy and having a good time, you know?
Do you talk about politics on your show regularly?
So for me, you know, when someone asks me politics, I don't feel like what I discuss is political. I think it's odd that people think I'm political. Do family values mean politics? Does wanting a fair shake for every man, woman, and child, regardless of color, why is that political? Is, you know, we had Eric Holder, we did an interview with him, former Attorney General, the first African-American Attorney General in the country, and we talked about defunding the police. Now, I don't know who came up with that stupid name, but that's not what defunding the police doesn't mean taking money away. He made such a brilliant point. Now, he never co-signed on the name defunding the police. I want to put that out there because I don't want to misquote him. But he did say something so powerful. He said, why would the same officer who's called to apprehend the man on the corner with a knife be called to have a discussion with a woman having a mental breakdown? Shouldn't there be different departments for that? The answer is simply yes. That's not political. So I will continue to fight for what's right. You know, I don't believe that I'm Republican or Democrat. I believe I'm right. And I won't stop that. I'm going to continue to fight for people. I'm going to continue to fight for what's right, for the American dream, for morality. And if people see that as political, then they're probably the ones with the issue. I am a huge advocate for don't say anything. I'm going to look at your policy. I'm going to look at what you're doing for my community. You know, I had a conversation with Killer Mike. You know how vocal he is about issues in his community. I'm the same way. What are you going to do for me in my community, for my people? Lobbyists go out and they fight for their drug companies and they fight for the, you know, the oil companies and they fight for all. Well, I'm lobbying for my community. What are you going to do for me? What are you doing for the people that live in my neighborhood with no shame? And if you aren't doing what you said, then we're going to fire you next term or we're going to move on to somebody else. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. All I care about is what you're doing to advance my community. And so I try to teach that to people. Don't worry about party because they don't worry about you. Worry about the candidate and the policies and your community, and the rest will fall in line. I promise you that.
Have you ever had any challenges with PDs just wanting you to focus on the music and the celebrities and the pop culture element of what's happening in the world?
Yes, of course, there have been program directors who, you know, I mean, I understand you have advertisers who may see things a certain way, but I never crossed the line on the air. I'm never offensive. I've never told anybody who to vote for. I don't, you know, I don't speak badly about anyone in office. I simply tell the truth. And we don't focus on politics on the radio. We don't. Now, of course, if something happens in the country that garners attention, we're going to discuss it. But one thing that I want to say about that is program directors need to remember too that, you know, the worst thing you can be is average. If you look at every successful radio show who's really doing well, there's something great about their show. There's something different. There's something that cuts through. And that's something that cuts through with us, is that we're very real in our conversation. But, you know, I think because of social media, there might be this misconception that we're just talking politics all the time. That's just not the case. We're bringing people together on this show. We're talking about, you know, family. We're talking about going out. We're talking about dating. We're talking about things that are real that probably most shows don't touch on. And we have a segment called Down in the DM. Let me tell you, have you ever gotten some of the weird DMs? Well, we bring them to the radio. So we've got this new segment, you know, so we're cutting through in different ways. But of course there are PDs that are concerned. But I think when I have that conversation like I did with you about what's right and wrong, most people agree that they want to be on the right side of history. And we would never, ever we would never damage a radio station or their brand. We're trying to uplift brands. I'm trying to make your brand better. I'm trying to be a part of that brand. I'm trying to grow your brand. I'm trying to grow the people that are spending money on your radio stations. We work so well with sales. That's something that every single radio station always says, like, we just can't believe how nice you are with sales and how many ideas you guys come to. You know, I would never do something that would damage those relationships or the brand of the radio station that we're partnering with.
How do you guys integrate social media into your show?
It's a very big part of the show. I would say that we spend just as much time on our social media as we do on air. And that means a lot of work, but that's okay. The audience, as I stated with program directors, the audience lives on social media, okay? So we need to be where the audience is, you know, kind of like in old days when you pull up to a remote and you expect the talent to come to you. Well, that's not the way it works anymore. You know, when you pull up, you're pulling up to the NBA game or the football game or the club or where the people are. This is not 1990 or 2000. It's 2020, almost 2021. So where are people now? Where do they congregate? Where are we all the time? On our phones. So we concentrate very heavily on social media. We have fun videos. We do a Facebook Live, which you're very well aware of. You know, a few days a week, and then we run on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we do Facebook Live, and it's garnered, you know, I mean, we're up to like 8 million views a month now on the page, which is really exciting. You know, from nothing, we weren't really, you know, doing the Facebook Lives, and now that we're doing them, we started off as a job fair, finding people jobs because of coronavirus. There's 30 million people out of work. We're still doing that, but now it's turned into an extension of the show. So that's part of it. And then we take excerpts from it and we make other videos. It's a lot of work. You know, anybody in this industry knows how much work it is. But our affiliates and us, we need this content because the audience that we're trying to reach is online. And if we want to continue to grow radio from the bottom up, and we tell our advertisers this, you can't advertise only to old people because then you're going to age yourself out. If you want to grow radio from the bottom up, go where the people are, and the people are online. So I'm very proud of that. We even have certain segments, certain bits that we do that are strictly catered to young people. We have a bit called the Parents Court, and we have parents and their children on, and it's turned into a huge bit. And this allows young people to express themselves, to have their case tried per se on the radio with their parents acknowledging, you know, with their parents' consent rather. And it's become a huge bit for us. And I love it because we get these young kids calling in. People say young kids aren't listening to radio. Well, they're listening to our show. I don't know about your show, but they're listening to our show. So I'm glad we're programming to them and also our adult audience so that we can continue to grow and not age ourselves out.
Because you had such a great month in July, other than the Vanessa Guillen post, what was it that you would say that you did in that month to get even more engagement?
You know, I think answering questions about the Vanessa Guillen story and also our Facebook Live, we did connect quite a few people with jobs. So there's a lot going on in the country right now, right? We just talked about what does the audience need? Right now, the audience wants to go to work. So the job fair that particular month, we scored high, I feel like, because we found a lot of people jobs. Those stories offer hope, right? When you hear that, you share it, you want to talk to people about it. Look what this crew is doing. And this is, you know, this is simulcast all over our affiliates. So we're talking from California to Portland to, you know, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. And all these people are talking together. This is a family we're building. You know, we don't, like I said, when you talk about local and this and that, I'm not buying all that. I'm sorry. We're building a family. People are connected all over, and they have the same wants and needs. So I feel like the job fair definitely hit. And then also with the Vanessa Guillen, the lack of coverage on a national level just goes to show how underserved the fastest growing demographic in the country is, which is Latinos, specifically Mexican American. And it's a shame. It's a shame that people were having to come to my page to ask questions and see anything about Vanessa Guillen in English, because a lot of people that are Mexican American or Latinos in general don't speak Spanish. So they had to come to my page to get that news. And I really hope PD's paid attention to that. And we don't get on the air and talk about, you know, I'm not waving my Mexican flag. It's not like that. But the fact that my name is Cortez says exactly who I am. People know who I am. And there's a need for that. People need to see themselves in media. Young women, young Latina women need to see themselves in media. And there just aren't any. Can you name a movie? Can you name, you know, a superhero? Can you name a radio show? It's just not there. And I'm very proud to represent that. But the one thing too about this show is it brings everybody to the party. You know, we came on here in Phoenix, KKFR was our last affiliate that we added. Or no, it's not. That's not true. We added Fresno and Bakersfield after. But we added KKFR, and I remember being, I mean, I was a little afraid. I mean, it's the biggest hole we've ever been in. The morning show was in 26th place. That is, you know, there are serious signal issues in Phoenix at KKFR, but it is a very good station. And the new program director, I just believed in him so much. And I'm so happy to tell you, we're top 3 now. And it hasn't even been 8 months. You know, we dug ourselves out of this hole because we bring everybody to the table. And that's the difference in having a show when you have a woman who's not afraid to speak her mind and has 2 men on the show that she respects as well. The men on my show don't get demeaned. I mean, we roast each other, don't get me wrong. We're roasting and we're clowning each other, but their opinion matters as much as mine. And unfortunately, when you listen to radio, that isn't always the case. When you hear these women that I know personally, and I'm like, these are strong women and they're not allowed to speak their minds. That's not fair. And I'm glad that our show cuts through because we all respect one another. And it's good. It feels good. It feels good to be able to say that. To go from 26th girl to top 3 I feel good about it. I'm very proud of my team.
As you should be. Was that 1834?
1834.
Okay.
And you know, PDs will know. That's where you start. You go 1834. We're top 10, 1849 already too. You start 1834. Wow. You have to grow that young, and then you go to and then you start going to the older demographic. That's the way it works. And I know, I'll say it. I mean, you can print it, whatever. I know they're watching us. I know they're watching us because we have signal issues here. We came in. You know, I'll tell you, one man told me it cannot be done. When we announced the deal, I was at a radio convention and I had a man come up to me and tell me, you'll never win there. It'll never happen for you in front of other people. And I was so disheartened. I was so frustrated, and it feels so fucking good. Because whenever someone says you can't, that just makes you work so much harder. And then the 1849 is going to come, and the 2554 is going to come too, because it always has. That's how it works. You don't win from the top down. You win from you grow like grassroots from young to old. So we'll get there too. We just got here though, so I'm excited. I mean, I really am.
What advice would you give to someone who works with their spouse?
Love them every day. And it's the best thing for me gosh, it sounds so cliche, but my husband is my best friend. Like, you know, I'm very open about my life. I was married 2 times before. You know, I just revealed that I was 15 when I had my first child. I was married, divorced, and with child before I was 16 years old. I found my best friend. I found somebody who's talented, strong, and you as a woman know this. There's no such thing as I don't think a man can uplift a woman unless he's strong. He's a strong man because he doesn't have a problem with, you know, being the executive producer. If it wasn't for him, there would not be this show. It wouldn't be happening. So I love him so much. He's my best friend. And if you work with your spouse, you better make sure they're your best friend, because I've seen people work together and it doesn't work out. Their marriage falls apart. They end up divorcing, cheating. And you know, you've probably heard these stories too in radio where spouses begin, or in any business really, they start working together and the relationship falls apart. We spend every waking moment together. And he used to travel DJing, and now with COVID, he doesn't even leave anymore. So he's here all the time. So trust me, you better love your partner. It better be real. And if you have any doubts, don't do it. Don't work with him, because it is it's a constant. And I'm just lucky I happen to work with my best friend.
How long have you guys been working together?
12 years now. 12 years as married, but we've been working together since we pretty much both started our careers, which is almost 15 years. There was no attraction. It wasn't like that at all. He had a girlfriend. Like, it wasn't like that at all. We just got to know each other, became single, and it just, over time, we just became such good friends. It happened very naturally, very organically, and maybe that's why it works. Maybe that's why it works so well. But the thing I think also is that I'm willing to talk about those things. I don't want anybody who listens to think that life is a fairy tale. We fight right now. My husband and I fight right now. We had a game. We turned this whole argument into a game show on the radio. It was one of our biggest bits. I mean, that weekly was huge. You have to be real. You have to be willing to be real and authentic. And sometimes that's embarrassing. Saying you've been divorced twice, I laugh about it because it's not something I'm proud of. But I know there's other people who went through it as well. Saying that I had a child at 15 is not something that I'm proud of, but it's part of my life. And I love my daughter. So I believe that our willingness to be open about our lives is also something that differentiates us from maybe the perfect show across the street.
You weren't always as thin as you are now. So what did you do to lose weight?
I honestly came to terms with, number one, I was in a really unhappy relationship. Great man, good person. I figured out that a lot of my eating habits were emotional, from childhood. Growing up in a dysfunctional home, food brought me comfort. If something was sad, I ate. If I had a headache, I ate. If something was happy, I ate. It was always about food. And I continued that pattern into my adulthood. And when I came to terms with, look, you got to get right with who you are, what you want, that's when I decided to make a life change. And I did. And I have never looked back. Now, it is a battle every day. I won't lie to you and say that I'm always at my optimum weight. I fluctuate between 5 and 10 pounds up and down, because every day truly is a battle for me. But I'm proud of the fight. We do a bit every Monday called the Fat Club. And I called it the Fat Club because I wanted people to really, wait a minute, did she say fat? That's an offensive word. That's what we put on our bodies, and we need to love ourselves. We need to love ourselves enough to feed ourselves what we need to be happy inside and have our outside reflect that. I was very unhappy internally, and I believe that my exterior reflected that. Not only in being overweight, because I believe a lot of women and men can be overweight and be happy, but the way I would dress, the way I presented myself, my confidence, everything was not right. And so when I decided to get right with that, I never looked back, and I've made that promise, and I've kept it for the most part. I mean, I still like my Oreos every now and then. I still cheat, once a week. I do all that. But I don't ever want to go back to that, because I used to lie and tell people, oh, I'm so happy. I'm okay with my weight. And I wasn't. I hated going out. I hated making appearances. I hated getting dressed up. And I'm happy now. I feel good about not only the way I look, but the way I feel. I'm strong. you know, and so I'm proud of it. And I've kept this weight off over 10 years. So I'm really proud of it.
It's not Dana Cortez, it's Dana Cortez. So one, did you ever have any PDs or program directors try to get you to pronounce it as Cortez?
You know, sometimes some markets, I'm not going to name any names or anything. Yes, some people are uncomfortable with that. They think that it's going to throw, you know, people off. But unfortunately, it's kind of been backwards more recently with, hey, can you throw some Spanish words in there? Can you mix in the Spanish, the Spanglish? And it's just so fake. And, you know, we talked about being authentic and being true to yourself. I do speak Spanish on occasion, even on the air. If I'm like upset about something or I forget a word, I'm gonna throw a Spanish word in there. But I'm not gonna do it just so I can be your token. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, and it's unfortunate. A lot of program directors will do that. I hope that George Floyd's death, I hope that the Vanessa Guillen story, I hope that these, just 2 out of many, many stories, have opened the eyes of program directors to understanding that brown and Black communities are just like every other community. We just want representation and fairness, and that's it. I'm not gonna turn anybody off with my content or my name, Cortez. I'm going to bring more people to your party. So that's the message, really. You know, the Vanessa Guillen story, the George Floyd story, the many, many stories that need coverage or that garner all of this attention. It's because there is a need to be heard. These communities want to be heard, and they want fairness, and they deserve it. We deserve it. I shouldn't say they, we deserve it, you know, be it African-American, Afro-Latino, Latinos, Asian, Native Americans. Let's not forget about our Native American community as well. This is a great country, and it's not just one size fits all. And I love that our show is so diverse. You know, we have my husband's white, Anthony is from New Mexico, Mexican American. There's a diversity in the show that I'm proud of as well. I don't ever want to exclude somebody or just bringing people on because of, you know, the color of their skin or their last names or whatever. I hope program directors understand that. We're not going to turn anybody off by being the Dana Cortez Show. If anything, it's going to bring more people to the table. And you see that, right? You look at all of the success that the Breakfast Club has had. You just talked about Ebro. You know, these are shows that cut through for a reason. You know, I've often talked about Los Angeles, the supposedly most progressive, you know, progressive city in the country. Thank God they finally gave Ellen K a shot. You know, I'm like, there's no women running anything in LA. Like, what's happening? You know, so I hope we make a move toward taking, not a risk, just to fulfilling the needs of our country soon in radio. TV figured that out a long time ago with Oprah, Ellen, and so on and so on. You can even go further back. Look at the Lucille Ball show. Like, I love those vaudeville shows and looking at those slapstick comedies. TV caught on really early. It's time for radio to catch up.
Are there any personalities that you looked up to as you were just getting into radio, as far as like people who influenced you or people you just really loved listening to?
Oh, hands down, Angie Martinez. Girl, when I heard Angie, I was like, oh, I can do this. I was like, I can do this. I feel like she's such a powerful woman, right? She's such a, and for hip hop, you know, think about, especially early hip hop, like now hip hop, so it's pop, it's the most popular music in the world. When Angie, you know, was on Hot 97 and she's in the midst of this very male dominated world, she's killing it. She's destroying it. She's owning it. She's running it. And so for me, looking at her, I was like, I can do this. And I still look to her as such an influence in my radio career. But I also look to television. You know, I love watching old Barbara Walter interviews. You know, she held her little cards and she was always extra prepared. For me, it's always been about powerful, strong women who were unapologetically real and authentic. And so shout out to Angie, shout out to all the women in radio, Deja in New York. I love Deja, Dee Dee McGuire in Dallas. I love these women. I love all of them. So I want to thank them for breaking down so many doors so that some of us can come in, you know. It's exciting to see. And I love them so much. And I love them because they're strong too. And they're willing to help other women. That's what we need. We need more sisters to help other sisters in this business.
Have you encountered anybody that you feel is going to be a future star? And if so, who is it?
I mean, there's so many people, right, that you meet. I love Natasha Castles. She's one of my favorite personalities. She is a strong Afro-Latina woman. She is so powerful. I love watching her right now. She's one of my favorite people to watch. There's just so many, right? I don't want to just say one person either because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I'd rather offer some advice by telling any woman in this industry to just not be afraid to speak into existence what you want. Don't be afraid to tell your program directors that you want guidance, that you want to grow, and don't be afraid to walk away if they don't help you. Now, I'm not saying walk away, I'm not saying quit your job and go, don't plan, but you have to believe in yourself enough to surround yourself with people who do as well. So take that chance on yourself. But I love Natasha so much. She's the first person, I mean, there's so many, but she just came to mind right away because I think she's so strong. I love her. She's so cool. She does she's on a pop station, but she does this hip hop show called the Roosevelt Tapes. She's just such a powerful person and beautiful inside and out. I love her.